Hello everyone, and welcome once again to Painting the Story. I want to welcome you into the gallery once again as we go on a little adventure. I certainly hope everyone finds themselves well, but if not, why don't you chill out for a little while, come with me, and let's tell a story and paint a picture. I think today I want to tell the tale of the traveler. This is a very complicated character, so prepare yourself to get very deeply nerdy on this one. But I certainly hope you enjoy this. I certainly hope you have fun. I know I will. A couple of quick points of business. We will probably, by the time this goes to air, have already given away Idgas Valley, which is what the title is officially of this painting. So to the lucky winner, congratulations. I'm sure we will have by now, if we haven't already, we will announce the winner. But as you can see, some of my paintings are dry enough to be displayed. These are a couple of pieces I did before I started the show. But I like them, and it makes it feel like it's actually a painting show. I don't know. What do y'all think? I'm slowly upgrading my kit, I guess. I'm kind of tickled. I made a palette out of some scrap wood and stuff, and it'll serve the purpose. And I'm going to get an easel and all that. But this whole past month has been, as I've said before, and I will continue to say, it's been a joy. So come with me now as I tell you the story of the traveler on Painting the Story. Okay. I think today we're going to tell the story of the traveler. Now, the traveler, as his name would suggest, travels quite a bit. I think today I want a very bright sun, maybe right about here in the sky. So put in some yellow. There we go, a little brighter. All right, the traveler, he's known in many lands by many names. And there's many, many stories that rise up around his presence and name. No one really knows his true name. Some people's claim that he's a great and mighty magician. Others, that he's just a crazy old fool. And still others that claim that he was the first. Well, I like to believe that last statement. Some say he may be a god or some other form of powerful deity. But I like to think that he's the reason why magic exists in the world of Arcona in its various many forms. There's an old legend that's only ever spoken of in hushed, reverent tones of the time when magic was easy. A time where it was easy as thinking. When you could move mountains just with your pure imagination. But here's the truth and the reality about the traveler. He's so old, he doesn't even remember his true name. He's so old that even though he was once able to work these wonders of magic, which birthed the legends around him, now he has trouble conjuring a simple candlelight. And it's lamented him all his long life. And his greatest desire has been to reclaim that easy magic that he once had. Well, let's go back, all the way back to the beginning. And let's get deeply nerdy for a minute, if you will allow me. I'm kind of proud of this idea for a magic system. And it's kind of twofold and kind of combines two story ideas I've had throughout my time. That being that, you know, and here's where we get deeply nerdy, if you'll allow me. In a lot of other stories, your magic system was, you know, something that had to be learned or earned, you know. But in my system, the reason why there are legends of the days of old where magic was as easy as thinking was because the magic is powered by a perception and experience. Simply put, the strongest magics are the ones free of forethought and prejudice. The purest thought you could have about, I want this plant to grow there. Free of any, well, I'm going to need to water it thoughts, or it needs time to grow, or it needs sunlight, or it needs nutrients in the soil. See, those are the perceptions that would hinder the magic. But if it's like a child and you just want it to grow, that's when it grows. And the thing about the traveler, though, that's kind of one of his character flaws, is that he's very curious. And because he's curious, he gets lonely. So in the early days, he would travel around and he would come across these tribes of various peoples. But today we're just going to do some hills here. Maybe in his travels, he would come across various peoples. But because the magic is powered by perception, and these people having not seen wonders like he was able to work in the old days, from then on, their perception of magic was forever tied to that first impression. For example, the traveler one time came across a village of, for lack of a better term, let's call them Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I have another name for them, but that's a story for another time. But this story involving the traveler is how they learned their magic. The traveler, this being the early days of his wanderings, these were one of the first peoples he'd come across. And it was the first new people he'd come across in quite some time. Well, in his excitement, he was feeling a little flashy. So, he used a flourish and magic words to accomplish the magics. You know, showing off a bit. I think maybe we'll have a cloud over here. Just a little. There we go. Just maybe one little cloud up here, alone in the cloud, in the skies. Alright. So from then on, the way that the tortoise people would practice magic was with magic words and hand flourishes, because that was the only way they knew. Another time, and this was later in his travelings, before he completely lost his ability to touch the magic weave, but he was starting to understand that, you know, the magic was getting weaker. And in an offhand comment, he would say to these peoples who've been lost to time by this point, he would say that the strongest magics are done by the young. So from then on, that kingdom, or those people, believed that only the young were able to work the magics. But in that same statement, the traveler would say that, and that's what makes them dangerous. Not even thinking about what he was saying, just saying what was on his mind. And not dangerous in the sense that there was any malice, just that the magic was more unpredictable. But out of that statement, these people persecuted anyone who they thought could work magics. And this led to, well, quite frankly, some tragedies. So, you know, the lesson that took the traveler ages to understand was that perception is everything. And you need to be careful what you say, because you don't really know what the repercussions will be. But that leads the story to present day, if you will. The traveler has relegated himself to just a lonely, wandering old man. Although, you know, being the first, he is kind of genderless in a sense. Although there was a couple of others like him, but he always, I guess, identified with the masculine. But I'm getting ahead of myself. His attentions have turned now to trying to recapture what he once had and figure out how to work those wonders again, because he feels that the world needs it. And he's right. Anytime that the magic is out of balance, it affects everything. Okay. All right. I'm going to come down here. I think I'm going to want a little bit of water here, so not the whole way, but maybe just a little bit right in here. But in his attempts to try and recapture, you know, what he felt he had lost, it almost became an obsession. And for a time, it became all-encompassing. Because he realized that without the magics, there can be no renewal. Put some dark ground in over here. Alright, I think I'm going to try out my new fan brush. And I think I'm going to try maybe a little darker. Maybe a row of trees there. Let me get some more green. But eventually, the traveler just kind of gave up on his quest to recapture any kind of magic ability. And he thought that, from then on he would just be a recluse. But then he discovered something. Through purely coincidental means. He was pondering a babbling brook and just thought, maybe there's fish in here. And then a fish jumped. But the odd thing was that the traveler had never seen a fish like this before. And at this point in his long life, he'd been there, done that, had a t-shirt, and a couple interesting anecdotes to tell you about any fish you might encounter, because we're talking millennium here. But it was then that he realized completely that the strongest magics come from a place of pure thought. And to liken it to, a real life thing, he had achieved enlightenment. And by doing so, he was able to recapture his magical essence. And he was fulfilled again. He would never be able to work the wonders that he did of old, because the magic is powered by perception and experience, and he has a lot of that. A lot of knowledge can sometimes be a bad thing. But that's not all there is to hear or say about the traveler. I think maybe I want some... Maybe I'll go back and add some highlights to those trees. Add a little color to things. But I did, earlier I spoke of another that was like the traveler. And that would be the one that the traveler calls the brother. Now, in the beginning, the brother was the first person that the traveler ever encountered. And they were alike in a lot of ways, but in a lot of ways different. But in that time, and in their excitement of meeting someone like themselves, after ages wandering, trying to understand the environment they lived in, they had finally met someone who was like them. Alright, I think I want to take some white, a little bit of red, a little green. Maybe just a touch of black. I want a brown color. All right. I think kind of coming in from the center here. What does a traveler do? They walk the path. So that's what I'm going to attempt to replicate here. But the brother. Okay, maybe we got a kind of a meandering path that kind of goes and comes over here. Maybe kind of just, there we go. Just a rolling grassland leading to these hills. For a time, the brother and the traveler coexisted in blissful just existence. But eventually, as it would happen in any situation, they grew tired of each other. And what were once small annoyances became outright arguments and disagreements. And then they met another, like unto themselves. And she they called the sister. Well, that's when the both of them first experienced jealousy, the brother and the traveler. They both wanted to monopolize the sister's time and show her new things and new wonders of magic. But eventually, the sister left because she couldn't choose between one or the other. So to save them all, she left thinking that the traveler and the brother would go back to their happy ways of old. But the opposite happened. The brother blamed the traveler for her leaving, and vice versa. And it just didn't end well, and there was always that rift. So the both of them wandered, separate from each other. And, eventually the same thing that happened to the traveler happened to the brother. And he lost his ability to touch the magics. But instead of consigning himself to, a life, a mundane life, I guess, but, rather than accepting the fact brother rebelled against it and refused to accept it. So, in his attempts to recapture the magic, it took him to some very, very dark places. And we're talking the manipulation of the mind. You know, he discovered that peoples with mental issues were easier to manipulate into casting purer forms of magic. And, you know, eventually he became a tyrant. And there wasn't anyone around who could do anything about him. So, what was once good and pure became clouded and dark and almost evil. But the brother was, even through his nefarious means, he was able to recapture some of his magical prowess. So he was able to attract others to his not necessarily cause, but to his teachings, I guess. And a whole almost cult rose up around him. So eventually the traveler felt he had to do something. So after eons, literal eons of no contact, the traveler tracked down the brother. And they had words. And it came to blows. But at that precise moment, the sister reemerged after millennia away. She emerged, and her and the traveler did what needed doing. And it wasn't something either of them relished. But at times, evil must be dealt with. So they did what they had to do. But in her travels, the sister had discovered new things and new ways of working magic, new ways of touching the weave. And that involved music. Music has been said to be the language of the world. And in a way, that's right. And through music, the traveler and the sister found happiness again. But as always, sometimes life's lessons are hard to learn. And sometimes you may have to do things you don't really want to do. But you have to. You have to for the betterment of yourself, for the betterment of the world in general. They also learned not to let themselves be clouded by what they perceive to be true. Because sometimes the thing that you want the most is the easiest to obtain. You simply have to stop thinking about it and just do. Kind of like painting, you know? I've been worrying about this particular piece for a while now and had a couple of false starts, and well, it just took me doing it to do it. Maybe a little bit of grass in here. I think the lesson we can learn from the traveler is that you always want to seek the new experiences, but don't let those experiences affect you adversely. Because they can cripple you. And I can speak to that. Maybe right here, I think we'll have just an old gnarly tree. Barren. You know, pretty soon it'll fall. Nah, I think this guy needs some leaves. Just a few. Need to differentiate this color. Add a bit of blue to it. There we go. So remember, that whatever path lies before you, just be like the traveler and live for the moment, live for the experience. But don't let it hold you back from life's next adventure. And on that note, folks, I think we're going to call this painting done. I'll sign it real quick. And on that note, this has been Painting the Story. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was the story of the traveler. I told you we were going to get deeply nerdy. But until next time, I am your humble story.